In today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about Google Ads audit. I'm going to be talking about it in the context of business owners. So I'm not going to be talking a lot of technical gibberish here. So if you're a business owner and you're managing your Google Ads by yourself, this episode is for you. I'm going to be talking about a 10-step Google Ad audit that I use for a lead generation website, and I managed to increase leads by 90%. So I'm going to walk you through things you need to think about, things you need to do. You don't have to be an expert to be able to do this. So if you're a small business owner, there's a possibility that you created and designed your Google Ads by yourself. Sometimes I've seen organizations that have had Google Ads running for like 3-4 years, and some of them spend north of $20,000 to $30,000 or pounds a month. So in a year, they spend like a pretty penny on Google Ads, like $300,000-$400,000 or pounds on Google Ads. And it's mind-boggling that most of these business owners rely heavily on Google recommendations within Google Ads to optimize it. But today I'm going to walk you through how you can optimize your Google Ads by yourself through a 10-step Google Ads audit process. You have two options. You can either hire an external consultant like myself to come in and look at your Google Ads and help you audit it, or you can do it yourself. But today, I'm going to walk you through how to do it yourself, what you need to focus on. So I'm going to be discussing this in 10 sections. I'm going to talk about conversion tracking. I'm going to talk about account level structure. I'm going to talk about your campaign naming. I'm going to talk about search term reports. There's a report within your Google Ads that most business owners don't even look at in some instances. I'm going to talk about negative keyword, budget allocation, bidding strategy, and I'm going to talk about keyword match type, ad copy, and landing page optimization. I'm going to be talking about this at a friendly language. Like I'm going to be talking about it in a way where you as a business owner would understand everything. So let's start with your conversion tracking. This is the most important thing, because if your conversion tracking is not set up properly, you would not get the result that you need to get. You would not get the leads that you need to get, and you'll be wasting your Google Ads budget. But before we talk about conversion tracking, it's important to first highlight the types of conversion that you might have in a lead generation website. First, you have the conversion where you want people to call you. That's a phone number. You want them to call you where they can complete a booking or request a service, like a call out where they can come and give you a quote. That's one conversion. Another conversion that you can look at is creating a booking form on your website. That's one conversion. You can also request people to fill out a form and request a quote directly on your website, because sometimes you have the option of getting people to fill out a form and then you go to their house and then you give them a quote. You can also create a form on your website where you get all the information that you need from them and you can generate a quote for them. And if they're happy with the quote, it makes the conversion process faster. And then it helps you filter out people that are not really ready to buy. So that's another conversion action that you can put on your website. So let's look at like boiler services, like heating companies. So another thing you can have is people want to request that you come in and service their boilers. So you can actually create a form that would help you identify the type of boiler they have, and you actually give them a quote and a cost before you ever go out. And you can even take the payment from that before you go to the site. So these are the kind of things you need to look at from a lead generation, where you have the option of getting money on your website or going there physically to do a survey. Whatever conversion type you choose, you need to make sure that it is set up properly and that conversion links directly to revenue. Another conversion action that you can have on your website is requesting a callback, where people just come to your website, they put their name and their phone number, and then they request a callback because you want to have a conversation with them. You want to qualify them. So this conversion is a bit tricky, because if you delay in calling them back quickly, or if you call them back when they cannot speak to you, there's a potential that you might lose that customer. If there's a time lag between when they fill out the form and when you call them, you might lose the customer as well. So there's also the conversion goal where you can then ask them to book an appointment And those appointments, sometimes it can be paid, sometimes you can ask for initial upfront payment, and then when they book that appointment, then you go to their house, and then you provide your service. So I'm talking in the context of like electrical, plumber, clinic, aesthetic clinic, and all these kind of small businesses that rely on lead generation. So these are the conversion goals. So as a business owner, when you're looking at your Google ads, you first need to identify all these conversions that I've listed. They cannot be everything that you're going to focus on. You need to identify what your primary conversion is. What is that conversion that separates people that are ready to buy and people that are just planning to buy? So let me give you an example. Someone has heater, like a boiler in their house. We call it the boiler in the UK, the appliance that heats the whole house. If they're looking to service that boiler, they would request for you to come in and service it. That means they're really, really ready for that servicing. But if they're thinking about replacing that boiler, they would literally request a quote to look at their options. They're not really ready to buy. But someone that the boiler has broken down, then they'll be looking for an emergency call out. So what I'm trying to say here is, when optimizing Google Ads, you first need to ignore Google Ads first and first narrow down on the conversion. Sometimes you might be running Google Ads and the conversion that you have set up is not really fit for purpose. So the first thing you want to look at is the conversion you're currently tracking. Is it double counting? Because I've seen in Google Ads audits in the past where the conversion is inflated, where you think, oh, your Google Ads is really, really doing well. But down the line, you start realizing that the conversion you're getting from Google Ads doesn't really match up with your revenue, with your customer, with the quality of the leads that you're getting. So the first thing you need to do as a business owner, if you're managing your Google Ads yourself, is to narrow down on the most important conversion. And when I'm talking about conversion, you need to look at conversions that is a one-time purchase and conversion that is a recurring purchase. So what I'm trying to say is, there are some conversions in your Google Ads or your campaigns where the business benefit that you're going to get from that conversion is a one-off. And whilst there are some conversions that you would get more customer lifetime value. So let me give you an example. A conversion that is a one-time conversion is, for a boiler company, is a boiler installation. They come to you, the customer will come to you, they request a quote, and they get that installation done. That's a one-time profit that you get. Another conversion is for you to then make them sign up for regular checks and regular servicing in the UK. So if you look at those conversions, there are two conversions. One conversion is a recurring conversion where you can get that customer to be with you for years, 10, 15, 20 years. So what I'm trying to say here is, when you're dealing with your Google Ads, don't look at all conversions equally. There's some conversions that have more long-term revenue profit margins, and there's some conversions that are just very, very small. So when you're looking at the conversion on your website, what are the conversions that actually increases your profit margins, and what are the conversions that has a very, very high customer acquisition cost, but in the long term, you get your profit quickly? What are the conversions that would take longer for you to acquire the amount you use to acquire those customers? Those are the things you need to look at when you're auditing your Google Ads. Then the next thing I want you to look at as a business owner is look at your Google Ads account and look at the account setting. I want you to find out if your Google Ads is actually connected properly to your Google Analytics, and then look at the connection between your Google Ads and your Google business profile. That's the second thing I want you to look at. Remember, I'm talking about 10 steps, 10 things that you need to look at. Then you also want to look at your Google Ads structure. So if you have an organization, for example, that does electrical, does plumbing, does heating, does roofing, you have a lot of services. The naming and the structure of your Google Ads account needs to reflect your services. Emergency boiler is different to boiler installation. So like someone calling you out to come and help them with an emergency situation is different to someone that you can go in and kind of replace an appliance for them. So as a business, you want your account structure to reflect the services that you provide. That way, it will help Google to understand how to optimize your different accounts and your different campaigns. The another thing you need to look at as a business owner is when you're auditing your Google Ads account is that account structured to your brand term and your non-branded term? Your structure needs to reflect your customers, how they search for you and how they look at your product and service. Then the fourth thing you need to look at when you're auditing your Google Ads account, and this is something that I looked at when I was auditing this client's account, is your search term reports. The search term reports is basically what people type into Google when they're searching for a solution. And because they have a commercial intent, they're ready to buy, Google will then show them your service. So if what they're searching for is something that is informational, that they're not ready to buy, and they click on your ad, that means they're not really ready to buy. That means you are wasting money. So Google Ads gives you the reports of all the searches people make. I want you to be clear here. The search term reports is different to your keywords. These are what people actually type into Google and then your ads show up. So what you want to do is you want to filter and look through the search term reports to identify those phrases and those words that people are using to look for you, and you know that those people will never buy from you. You want to use that phrase as incentive to know that, okay, this person is not ready to buy, this person is ready to buy, which leads us to the next thing you need to do. There's something called negative keywords. So as a business owner, after you've reviewed your search term reports, those information that you glean about people that are not really ready to buy, those are the information that you then take into your negative keywords. With negative keyword, the goal is for you to filter all those time wasters. In every Google Ads account, you're always going to find time wasters, people that are not ready to buy, people that are not your target customers. There's some regular phrases and words that people like that use, words like DIY, words like courses, words like free, words like training, apprenticeship, how to, salary, do it yourself, tutorials, all this information that when people are looking for information about what to do, they want to do it by themselves. Say someone wants to repair the kitchen cabinet. If you are a carpenter and you're looking to sell your services, if someone is searching how to repair your kitchen cabinet, that person is not ready to buy. That person is looking for videos and tutorials online. You do not want your Google Ads showing for those kind of terms. So this is where you then have something called the negative keywords, where you implement that into your Google Ads. So when those people search for those kind of things, your Google Ads is not going to show up. So as a business owner, small business owner, you need to make sure that you have a detailed understanding about the kind of words time wasters search in Google Ads, and make sure that you have those words within your negative keyword list. So another thing you want to look at is how you allocate your budget as well. You want to make sure that you are allocating budget to the right campaigns. Remember, I said your campaigns will be structured by your services and your products and things like that. If you know that there's a particular service that you can get customers from, and then you can then upsell those customers with other services, you just need to look at your business from a strategic perspective and kind of pick and choose where you want to focus your efforts on. That should also guide your Google Ads budget allocation. You don't want to allocate budget to a service that doesn't have enough profit margin, if that makes sense. You want to make sure that the product or service that you know gets you more customers that you make more profit from a long-term perspective. Those are the ones you want to invest in. So what I'm trying to say is, even if you have to spend more to get those customers, because you know that when you get them, you can retain them and you can also engage them longer. And they can also, when they have good experience with your organization, they can also give their friends and family recommendations and recommend you to friends and family, basically. So that's what you want to think about when you're allocating your budget. You want to don't let Google guide how you allocate your budget, but let your customer acquisition cost, customer lifetime value, the target customers that you know that, okay, this customer, if I get them, they're the best customers. So you want to spend more to acquire those type of customers. Just making sure that long term you're able to recover the cost per acquisition quicker, and the customer lifetime value is also really, really high. So another thing you also want to look at is your bid strategy. So with Google Ads, what I would recommend is make sure that you're getting at least 30 conversion from a lead generation perspective. You want to make sure that you start with manual bidding. So whatever kind of bidding strategy that you have on, just make sure that you get a minimum of 30 conversions within a 30-day period, because that's what Google needs to be able to learn about your campaign, and that would help you in the long term. Then the number 8 thing you need to do when you're auditing your Google Ads yourself as a small business owner is to make sure that the keyword match types that you use reflects the type of customers that you want. What the keyword match type means is you have something called a broad term keywords. This will get people that are like searching broad, and sometimes the intent of those people might not match. Then they're not really ready to buy. That's what I'm saying in essence. So basically, you want to make sure that your negative keyword is really, really dialed up, and you want to make sure that you're constantly looking at your search term reports to make sure that you're avoiding traffic from time wasters. If you're able to zero in on those two things, then the quality, irrespective of the keyword match type that you're using, the quality would be within your campaign. So basically, you have the phrase match, you have the exact match, and then you have the broad term keywords. So basically, you want to focus more on exact and phrase match. Try as much as you can to really, really avoid broad match keyword when you're doing your Google Ads. Then the number 9 thing you want to do when you're optimizing and auditing your Google Ads by yourself is you want to look at your Google ad copy. There's something called responsive search ads, where Google will be able to match the headline and the description to try and identify the best one for your customers, the best combination that converts the most. So when you're optimizing this, you want to make sure that you're actually communicating your value proposition, you're communicating the customer pain points, you're communicating your brand, you're communicating the target keyword. So in campaigns that I've worked on in the past, this is a part where you really want to settle down and make sure that the headline and the description in your ad copy actually reflects what you want customers to get when they land on your landing page. And the final thing you want to make sure when you're auditing your Google Ads yourself as a small business owner is your landing page optimization. You want to make sure that your ad copy, the heading and the description matches the landing page. You do not want a misalignment or a friction between what people see in Google Ads and when they land on your landing page. These are the most important things you want to do, because if you have a high quality landing page, it will reduce your cost per click. It will also reduce friction and increase your conversion. So these are the things that I've done with clients in the past. So clients that have been able to increase their lead generation by up to 90%. These are the 10 steps that I follow. You as a small business owner, you can do this by yourself. It's easy. Just listen to this episode of the podcast slowly and just go into your Google Ads, and one after the other, make sure that everything that I've mentioned in this episode, you optimize it effectively. But if you're not able to do it, I can do it for you for a few hundreds. So normally I charge between £500 to £1,000, depending on the size of your account. So what I could do is audit your account and make sure that everything within the setting, your landing page, your funnel, your ad copy, your negative keyword, your search term reports, everything is optimized effectively. It's something that you can do once in a year, and then I can also train you on things to look at moving forward. So if you need a free consultation to kind of let me look at your Google Ads and see what's working and what's not working, you can book a session with me. There's a link in the show notes. You can click on that and book a 30-minute free consultation with me, and I can go through your Google Ads accounts and help you optimize it properly so you can increase the quality of the leads by more than 90%, as I've done with other clients in the past. My name is Femi Olajiga. I'm a growth marketing consultant. I've worked with brands across the world, large multinational brands. I've worked with small businesses. I've worked with commercial boiler companies. I've worked with dental clinics. I've worked across different lead generation websites. So book a free 30-minute consultation with me, and I'll have an initial look at your accounts and see how we can increase conversion and the effectiveness of your Google Ads. Again, you can do this yourself. Just listen to this podcast slowly from start to finish and follow everything that I've said across the board. Let me just do a quick recap. You need to focus on your conversion tracking, your account structure, your campaign structure. You need to look at your search term reports. You need to look at the negative keyword, your bid, your budget allocation, your bid strategy. You also need to look at your keyword match type, your ad copy, and your landing page audit. Those are the 10 things you need to focus on as a small business owner to get the best out of your Google Ads with effective Google Ads audit. My name is Femi Olajiga. Again, you can book a 30-minute free consultation by clicking on the link in the show notes or the description. And if you're new to the podcast, click like and share. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, follow and reach out to me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Thank you very much for your time. Bye.